Okay, today what I'd like you to do is to take a look at some microscope slides. They've already been laid out for you. The first microscope slide I'd like you to look at is of a Drosophilia, or a fruit fly. And a fruit fly is a pretty common house pest. Many of you have probably had fruit flies in your houses, and they live up to their name. They live on fruit. Sometimes students ask me, well, where do they come from? How do they even get into your house? Usually what happens is you buy the fruit with the fruit fly eggs on the fruit. So you take it home from the grocery store that way. And the fruit fly eggs are incredibly tiny. They're on the skin of the fruit. And you don't know they're there. They camouflage well. They're really tiny. And you bring your fruit home from the grocery store. A day or two later, you have fruit flies hatching out. Usually not really a big deal, just kind of a nuisance. But they're a very common subject to look at under the microscope. This is what they look like when they're alive, and they feed on fruit like strawberries and oranges and things like that. When they're mounted on a microscope slide, they look more like this one over here. They've been squished flat. Remember, a cover slip needs to go over the top of them, so they've been kind of flattened out. And sometimes when you look at them under the microscope, you're not going to see everything that you should, because it's been kind of flattened out and squished. So for example, on this microscope slide, this Drosophilia, I only see one, I can't tell if that's a leg or not, 1, 2, 3, 4 legs on this particular fruit fly. But because it's an insect, we know it should have 6 legs. Insects are 6-legged creatures. So you might not see all 6. Sometimes the wings get folded under the body as well. But anyway, that's the first slide that I'd like you to take a look at and answer some questions about. Here's the next slide. This is a very common slide. You might have looked at this last year. This is of the letter E from like a newspaper or from a book, just cut right out. And when you look at the letter E, it's just a piece of paper that's glued down to a microscope slide. When you look at the letter E, when you put it on the microscope right side up, when you look through the microscope, you're going to see it upside down, kind of like over here. On that one. Oops, let me go back. Like this one over here. And the microscope has this tendency to, it flips things upside down. When you look through the microscope, it's not going to be right side up. Everything's going to be flipped upside down. And if you try to move an object to the left or move an object to the right, that might be a little challenging as well. Moving the slide under the microscope is kind of difficult because it doesn't move. The way it looks doesn't match the way it's actually moving. So anyway, that's the letter E slide. And you'll also be asked to get the width of the letter E. And again, you would use the grid slide to do that. Once the grid slides are out and make a measurement of the width. How big across is the letter E? Okay, for the next slide, this is algae, Volvox algae. And when you look at this, we see these kind of little green spheres. The fact that it's green should give you a pretty good indication of what kingdom of life the algae is in. And then again, you'll be asked to try to estimate the diameter of one little piece of algae going from one side to the other. And again, you'll use the grid slide to do that. The final slide is some silk threads. And here we've got several silk threads, yellow, blue, and red, crisscrossed together. And I'd like you to try to measure the width of a piece of silk. So how big is the silk across? It's going to be pretty small. You're going to get a small number, but try to do the best you can to measure that with the grid slide. Okay, so 4 different slides to look at today. Fruit fly, letter E, algae, and silk. And there's a question sheet, just like usual, with questions to answer in your notebook. So try to do the best you can with that. And there'll be another microscope activity for you at some point as well. Okay, so good luck.